For the Newshour, I'm Madhavdas. Now, it's been 2 weeks since the now suspended BJP leader Nupur Sharma first made objectionable comments against the Prophet. But the fallout of those comments is spilling out onto the streets of the country. The fires that were first stoked in Kanpur have now spread across the country, where anarchy was unleashed from Jammu and Kashmir to Maharashtra, from Uttar Pradesh to Karnataka. Mayhem ruled the roost after Friday pairs when protests turned violent. In Jharkhand, protesters clashed with policemen and the state's armed police force. Stones were pelted, bullets were fired, and men in khaki were attacked. The Ranchi SSP and SP were amongst the policemen who were injured. A bloodied SP was soon ferried away from the protest site, even as those on duty fired shots in the direction of the unruly mob to disperse them. The policemen, perhaps outnumbered, were caught completely unawares. You can hear the dread and panic in this police officer's voice as he dials for reinforcements to be sent, a desperate call being made to his seniors. This audio will give you goosebumps. Hear it for yourselves how a completely helpless policeman was at the receiving end of the stone pelters.
देखिए देखिए पत्थर चला रहा देखिए देखिए आप इधर आ जाइए इधर आ जाइए छिप जाइए इधर आ जाइए सर चल रहा है सर हमको कवर में लगा मेरा मोबाइल टूट गया सर जल्दी से सर देखिए अभी पत्थर चला रहा था सर फोर्स भेज दीजिए
And apart from Ranchi, it was perhaps the state of Uttar Pradesh that saw the worst of the protests. Saharanpur, Prayagraj, Moradabad and even Lucknow saw its share of protests. Shockingly, even children were used as pawns in some of these protests and made to chant murderous slogans. Listen in to how that same template of hate was replicated across at least 3 cities in the country. Now, these provocations come on the back of a call that was given from a masjid in Jammu, where a cleric had asked for Nupur Sharma's beheading. Such hate preachers are perhaps emboldened by the patronage of netas. The complete silence from the opposition is perhaps what gives these hate mongers the confidence to reiterate their threats. Or perhaps it is the politicians who justify the call to behead as action-reaction, like this member of parliament. Listen in.
अब वो स्टेटमेंट आप उसको कह रहे हैं तो उसके रिएक्शन में ही तो कह रहे हैं वो क्या हमारे नबी की शान में गुस्ताखी की है और फिर इसके बावजूद नो एक्शन तो इसलिए अब ये एक्शन कोई नहीं है कि सब सस्पेंड कर दिया बाहर निकाल दिया पार्टी से
आप चाहते कानूनी कार्रवाई जल्द से जल्द हो
और इंशाल्लाह फिर ये हालात नॉर्मल हो जाएंगे.
Now, these protests and provocations have triggered a big political fight. While the opposition believes that this is a fallout of the BJP not doing enough, the Saffron Party is questioning these so-called secular parties. Listen in to the fierce war of words.
Government of India is sleeping. I want to say very clearly, if Government of India wants to save their skin, come out. Say no, they have not committed anything wrong. And if you want to arrest, you arrest both of them. And strict action should be taken.
कुछ लोग जो है सेकुलरिज्म का चोला और कम्युनलिज्म का झोला लेकर के कुछ ऐसी ताकतों के हाथों में खेल रहे हैं, कुछ ऐसी ताकतों के की सुपारी लेकर के इस तरह की हरकतें करा रहे हैं, तो जो कि सभी लोगों के लिए नुकसान है. इस तरह की जब हरकतें होती हैं, इस तरह के हालात पैदा होते हैं, तो इंसानों को ही नुकसान नहीं होता बल्कि इंसानियत भी शर्मसार होती है, लहूलुहान होती है.
So the legitimate question on the Newshour tonight is this: as the communal pot boils, who's to blame?
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
All right, let's take this across to our guest now. With us is Smita Prakash, editor of ANI. With us also is Feroz Bakht Ahmed, former Chancellor of MANUU, right here in our studio. Mohandas Pai, of course, is chairman of RN Capitals. We also have with us on the show this evening Syed Masood Al Hassan, who's a political analyst. Professor Atikur Rahman is a political analyst who's with us. Lokesh Jindal is also with us, leader of the Congress party. Let me begin with Professor Atikur Rahman. Professor Atikur Rahman, you know, one can understand angst, one can understand peaceful demonstration. But what we've seen replicated on the streets of Ranchi, on different cities across Uttar Pradesh and different parts of the country is something that just is not acceptable. Why indulge in violence? Is it the only way that protests can be resisted? And of course, the kind of absolutely shocking slogans I'm going to get to. But first and foremost, this kind of violence, this is something that one just cannot understand or accept. If you believe in rule of law, if you believe in courts of the country, they can be petitioned, action can be taken against anyone who you believe has violated the law of the land.
Madhav, under no circumstances violence can be acceptable to any society which is civil, which is run on the constitution, which is run on the style of democratic functioning. Looking at the entire day's events, I can only say, and this is a very heavy on my heart to say, that Muslim leadership does not exist in India. A large population such as the Muslim population, and without a leadership, the leadership having no, there is a void of Muslim leadership. And the government of India, whoever speaks for the Muslims, good or bad, fails to recognize such voice, saying to them, go to Pakistan, charging them with sedition, telling them that you are not part of us.
So it's the government's fault.
We need to draw a line.
So this violence is squarely at the doorstep of the government, as per you.
The larger responsibility lies with the government of India, but a
so who will take responsibility for these actions,
leadership,
even if I accept your argument, for a minute that the larger responsibility is of the government to ensure law and order, who takes responsibility for these actions then?
Madhav, the WhatsApp messages which were going around since the last 24 hours, they are the real culprits. They are, I think, politically motivated, and they have been made, the community as a whole has been made as a pawn.
Sent by whom, sir?
But the government should strictly deal with those messages.
Which are these politicians? Please tell us.
I heard on the media channels, they WhatsApp messages. I am not in the know of things. Who are the groups which are sending the messages? But the police knows it, because it is before the media and public domain. They are the real culprits, I should say.
Okay.
They are punishable.
You know, I just want to bring in Mr. Feroz Bakht Ahmed on that. Mr. Feroz Bakht Ahmed, this is an argument. First, the government is blamed. Of course, one can have legitimate issues with any government. But the point is, who's responsible for this? Because I'm asking Mr. Atikur Rahman to elaborate on what is this political idea behind these messages. No clarity on this. Who's sending these WhatsApp messages? Who's causing this provocation?
Madhav Sahab, for a start, for the first part of Mr. Atikur Rahman, let me pat on his back. Because he started with a very genuine remark. He said that the Muslim leadership in India is either rudderless or there is no Muslim leadership at all. And if we have leadership, like I heard Shafiqur Rahman Bart ji, who is also a member of parliament, who does not respect and regard the national anthem or Vande Mataram. Okay, Vande Mataram, he has a lot of difference, but he said that these kids, if they take 2 stones, there has to be something, and he passes on the axis of evil to Nupur Sharma. Now Nupur Sharma should not be the focus of these debates, because she has asked for public pardon. And the party has actually, thrown her out of the party. The BJP has suspended her. Apart from that, Madhav, no, she has also said that yes, if anyone has been hurt with my comments, I retrieve my remarks. Now, in Islam, a lot of importance is given to this kind of forgiveness. There are more than 25 verses. More than 25 verses in the Holy Quran and hundreds of verses in the Hadiths. There are 6 major Hadiths which actually focus on forgiveness. If someone hurts you, just let me 5 more seconds. If someone hurts you in any manner, if someone harms you, there are 2 options: either punish him or forgive him. If you forgive him, Allah will be kinder with you. Now, this kind of tone and tenure Islam has. But these people, these leaders like Owaisi, like Tawqir Raza Khan, like this Barq Saab, I mean, we are let down. As a Muslim, I am shocked to smithereens whenever I hear these people, these are our leaders. We are let down by them.
Well, certainly very shocking remarks, but not the first time that it's being made over there. And there have been several provocative remarks that have come from both sides. The point that I'm making, and in fact, as I introduce Majid Hydari to this debate, I'd just like to make a quick point to all our panelists. I'm asking each and every one of you to not shout over each other, not talk over each other. We have plenty of time to debate this entire issue. We have over half an hour left, so I'm going to come across to each of you one by one. Let me now go across to Syed Masood Al Hassan, who's also a political analyst. Syed Masood Al Hassan ji, सबसे बड़ा सवाल ये उठता है. At the end of the day, the question is this: that one can protest, but look at the kind of violent language that is also being used. सर तन से जुदा कम से कम 3 या 4 लोकेशंस पे अलग अलग प्रोटेस्ट में ये प्रयोग किया गया. क्या ये एक्सेप्टेबल हो सकता है?
नहीं, ये चीज तो नहीं होनी चाहिए थी. और लेकिन हमारे देश में जो कानून है, जो चार्जेस हैं, वो नुपुर शर्मा पे लगाए भी गए, मगर अभी तक उनकी अरेस्टिंग नहीं हुई है. उल्टा उनको सिक्योरिटी दी जा रही है. सिक्योरिटी देनी चाहिए क्योंकि उनकी जान को खतरा हो सकता है. लेकिन जो अभी मानू के फॉर्मर वाइस चांसलर कह रहे थे, मैं उनसे पूछना चाहता हूं कि एक तरफ तो वकालत करते हैं कि देश कानून से चलेगा, दूसरी तरफ वो वर्सेस पढ़ रहे हैं कि साहब माफी दे दी जाए. तो माफी कानून देगा या मानू के वाइस चांसलर साहब वर्सेस के थ्रू माफी दे देंगे? और दूसरी बात सुन लीजिए वाइस चांसलर साहब, आप मुसलमान हैं तो आपको ये भी पता होगा कि इस्लाम में कहा गया है, कुरान में कहा गया है कि जब नामुज़ रिसालत की बात हो, जब रसूलुल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की बेइज्जती की जाए, तो तुम्हारी जान, माल, इज्जत, आबरू किसी काम की नहीं, सबको कुर्बान कर दो. ये भी आपको पता होना चाहिए.
मैं थोड़ा सा जवाब दे दूं आपको. मैंने आपकी बात बहुत आराम से सुनी. बिल्कुल. और सुनिए, मैं थोड़ा सा, आप मेरे छोटे भाई की तरह हैं, बल्कि कहूंगा बच्चे की तरह हैं. देखिए, नामों से रिसाल बिल्कुल ठीक है. जो उन्होंने किया, इन्होंने बीजेपी के जो लीडर हैं नुपुर ने, उसकी सजा उनको मिल चुकी है. ठीक है, उनके खिलाफ एफआईआर हो गई. 1 मिनट, एफआईआर हो गई है. हो सकता है कल को अरेस्ट हो जाए, हो सकता है परसों को फांसी पे चढ़ जाए. थोड़ा पेशेंस रखिए, वेट एंड वॉच क्या होता है. लेकिन मैं ये भी कहना चाहूंगा, ये जो आप कह रहे हैं ना सर तन से जुदा, ये इस्लामी टोन और टेन्योर का हिस्सा नहीं है. हाँ, सुनिए, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, any desecration against him is totally unacceptable. Beyond doubt, I am a practicing Muslim by the grace of God. I am a patriotic Muslim like you. I am a nationalist Muslim also like you, or any other Muslim, like Majid Hydari. But let me say that there is an option of kindness. ठीक है, Allah likes kindness, and I have this just this reference, Tirmizi Hadith 1949, and it says, forgive the perpetrator, right? And that would be given a bigger place in heaven by God, and God will forgive your sins. And there is an umpteenth number of verses in the Holy Quran. Right. I don't have time, but you also know, as a practicing Muslim, you also know. So it is better to leave it behind.
I think the point he's making,
whatever she did, it was completely condemnable.
I think the point he's making is not forgiving from the legal point of view, but
forgiveness is better than hanging her.
And I think that is a very fair point to make. That is a very fair point to make. If everyone starts getting agitated, if everyone starts getting agitated and hitting the streets, there is no end to this. It will be a cycle of violence that we certainly do not want. And let me bring in Majid Hydari on that point. Majid Hydari, the point that is being made is this: one can peacefully protest in a democracy. That's a given. I mean, there is no arguing on that. But what is unacceptable is the violence and the violent language that is being used. Why not use the language of peace and forgiveness that we have Mr. Firoz Bakht Ahmed talking about?
हिंदू और मुसलमान को भाईचारे से जीने नहीं देते, बस यही एक ऐब है हमारे कुछ नेताओं में. Sir, before replying your question, one of the worthy panelists said that to err is human, forgiveness is divine. Yes, sir, very much true. To err is human, forgiveness is divine. But Nupur Sharma has nowhere apologized. She has only withdrawn a statement. Now, coming to the point of controversy and Sartan se juda issue. Sir, you have an issue with the statement, Sartan. Where were you when few years back the Sena took the entire hostage?
And they were roundly criticized, Majid Haidari. They were roundly criticized for using that kind of language. It was here on this channel they have criticized them. Not just on this channel, but roundly they have been criticized by everyone across the political spectrum.
Like this.
So nobody, no right-thinking human being who believes in the rule of law can justify any kind of violence. And let me bring in Smita Prakash on that note. Smita Prakash.
He had no law at that time. It was some goons taking the entire country hostage in the name of Karni Sen.
And that is not acceptable either.
Cinema halls.
That is not acceptable either, I'm telling you. That is not acceptable under any yardstick. It is not an acceptable act. Let me bring in Smita Prakash. Smita Prakash, if the argument today is that Karni Sena was allowed to get away with acts of violence and therefore this should also be allowed, I mean, how does that logic work?
Bhai, you are a lawyer.
Was there no criticism at that point of time? Sir, let me bring in others as well, please. Mr. Bakht.
Nupur, go to a court of law.
Yes.
Let the court hang her.
Yes, there are legal remedies available. Smita Prakash, please. Yes, Smita Prakash.
Our demand is a new law on plus maybe because plus.
Majid, please.
Yeah.
You made your point.
Madhav, it's 15 minutes into the debate and we seem to be still. Majid साहब जरा मैं बोल लूं बोल चुके हैं अब मेरी बारी है अब जरा थोड़ा सा चैन लीजिए थोड़ा सा सुन लीजिए you know we've been discussing about language and comments made by people. It's not a verbal issue. It's been such a difficult day today to see not verbal violence, this whole talk about whether it was that one saw on the streets or organized outrage. I find it hard to believe that spontaneously 2 weeks after an place, people come out in such large across the country. That is what is scary. If there was that spontaneous anger about what Nupur had said, right, wrong, whatever, certain got outraged, got angry, it should have happened. After the FIR route, bloodthirsty mobs, or I understand what the person just said a little before that our leadership has let us down. What leadership? I might just question, what is the leadership? Uwaisi Saab is quiet. He's the only Muslim face you are seeing. Where are the others? Where is Salman Khurshid, for example? Where is he of the Congress party? You know, Mukhtar Naqvi just said something, but where is the political leadership? Nowhere. Samajwadi Party has so many people from the Muslim community as political leaders. They are silent. So I understand when somebody from the Muslim community says that our leadership has let us down. Who are the leaders who are leading right now? The leaders who led today are the ones who gave the call for violence from outside the mosque. Right. If I may repeat, it was outside the mosque that the call was given out to say go out into the streets, go out. They were the flock who were outside, and the sad part is that the mobs will be identified by CCTV and videos and the police will take those mobs, but those who called for violence are sitting in their rooms. Madhav, right. They will not get caught. They are the ones who incite. The mobs go out. There will be a police record of all those who were there, because this is not the 80s and the 90s जहाँ पे riots कर लिया घर चले गए किसी को पता भी नहीं कि किसने क्या किया. These people are now on CCTV. They are on videos. They will be identified. Police records will be made. They will not get passports. They will not get visas. They will not get government jobs. And even when they apply for private jobs, when they go to big companies, okay, there will be a police record. There will be a check. Police tracking. They will not get jobs. You won't be able to buy property. All these things will happen. Think before you go out into the streets.
All right. I don't want to, unless we have the police on record saying that, in fact, I'm not going to name any one particular political party, but I will certainly ask a question to Lokesh Jindal, who's with Congress party. Lokesh Jindal, a pointed question coming in from Smita Prakash about leaders from the Muslim community. Why did they not come out and speak up? She's talking about leaders from the Congress party as well, who could have very much come out and have assuaged feelings, which obviously must be hurt at this point of time. That kind of a positive role could have very easily been played, but that did not happen. And who is responsible for this violence at the end of the day? One of the panelists at least claims that this is due to some kind of political action.
Good evening, Madhav. Congress is very active and it has time and again criticized BJP, and it has tried to correct BJP also on the course of the action that it is taking. Now the entire history of India has shown whenever there has been some form of imposition of ideology from the center, there has been resistances. And since ancient times, there was the policy of Dhamma of Ashok, or let us say Sulh-e-Kul of Akbar, and then the idea of India as that was muted by Jawaharlal Nehru. All this, it had said that India can exist only with pluralism, multiculturalism, tolerance. Now this particular BJP ideology of imposing one single idea of Hindutva all across the country is causing unrest. Now there is equal and opposite reaction to every action. Now this Nupur Sharma, the callous statement, please give me 30 seconds.
Mr. Jindal, I am asking you a simple question. My question is slightly different, Mr. Jindal. You can criticize Hindutva, you can criticize the BJP. I have no problems with that. But please answer the question that I am asking you. I am asking you a simple question. Where is the opposition today? When it comes to the common man on the streets, policemen who are injured by the dozen in different parts of the country, why is it so difficult to come out and assuage feelings? Why are we adding to that fire?
We are not adding to the fire. In fact, it is BJP which is finding it very difficult to douse the fire that it had spread. The fire was spread by BJP, and now look at the statement given by...
All right, the fire has been set by the BJP. Mohandas Pai, the fire has been set by the BJP and they must bear the consequences, is what Lokesh Jindal says. Please respond to him.
Are watching all this violence. People of this country are watching the Muslim community, many of them go on the street and say beheading, Saharanpur, Jod and all that. People of this country are watching on TV and social media, people giving bounty to kill somebody. People of this country are watching. What are the people going to think? If Lokesh Jindal can come and play politics here and blame others, he has to face the election in 2024. Do you think the people of this country are going to vote for the Congress party to say that they are that done anything to stop this violence? This kind of double-speak, hypocrisy, selectivity is going to hurt them. You know, nobody in this country will accept violence of this top. Let us make it very clear. Nobody wants violence, and anybody in this country who supports violence or acts on violence will be identified by the people of this country and be punished when they go to vote. Today is a sad day for this country, where you've seen a large number of people of the Muslim community go on the street, resort to violence, put provocative slogans after the Friday namaz. It's always happened in this country many times that after the Friday namaz, mullahs will have inflammatory, sermons, and they come out and resort to violence. We've seen it happen in Srinagar, we've seen it happen in many cities, we've seen it happen in Delhi, and this must stop. All of us in this country should talk in one voice and say, you can protest, you can do whatever you want to defend, but there cannot be any violence.
Mr. Pai, but there's one question.
If these people justify violence, Madhav, what are the people going to think? Nobody can justify any violence.
Absolutely not. And certainly that is the question that I've been raising. But Mr. Pai, there is one point that all of these protesters have been making in protests across the country today. They are demanding the arrest of Nupur Sharma. They are saying that if there has to be justice in this matter, she has to be arrested. Why has that not happened is their question. Your response.
Madhav, let me say, you want somebody to be arrested, it's up to the police to arrest. You can go march on the street and protest, that's fine. But you cannot resort to violence. This issue is not about them marching on the street. This issue is one of violence, provocation, inflammatory slogans. Is that acceptable in a civilized society? Do these people call themselves civilized when they say, I'm going to pay you 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 50 lakhs to behead somebody, I will murder somebody, I'll cut their head and make it here? Are they civilized people? And if they say they belong to a particular religion, what will people think of the religion? Does Islam support these kind of inflammatory remarks? Islam is supposed to be a religion of peace.
Atikur Rahman,
Islam says it is not.
Atikur Rahman, why not allow the police to do their job? You can peacefully protest, make your voice heard, and then move along. A, the kind of violent language, and B, the kind of violence, as Smita Prakash was saying, that is absolutely shocking. The shocking scenes that we've seen. The police officer was pleading. You know, he's so scared for his own life, the way in which he's talking, asking for reinforcements. Extremely shocking and heartrending scenes that we've seen across the country today, Atikur Rahman. Surely this was avoidable.
Surely, yes. Madhav, as far as the Nupur Sharma episode goes, since the beginning, since 10 days, I am trying to explain on different channels to the people that we invite criticism as far as the Prophet of Allah is concerned. Blasphemy as per the Quran is only against Allah. When Allah demands that any other deity, God, any other person gets aligned with me is blasphemous. La ilaha illallah, there is no God but Allah. That's only blasphemous. As far as the Prophet is concerned, anything said and done, we invite as a researcher on Islamic studies.
So what about the comments that are made against Hinduism? There are several people who have made provocative statements from the other side as well. Why not action be taken? If action is taken on Mr. Owaisi for comments of his, that's called both sidism. Balance-wad kar rahi hai police. So the police in this country is damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Why to listen to them? Let the police function. In a very, very clean manner, the police will be functioning. The problem is, as you said, the other side also has blood on its hand. And I am drawing your attention towards why 200 days back, when the retired IAS officers, IPS officers said to the government that something very clumsy is going on in the country.
Okay.
The government of India failed to...
Government failed. Government of India failed. Mohandas Pai. Government failed. Warnings were given. The government failed. Quick response, and then I'm coming across to Smita Prakash.
That is a ridiculous statement. These people keep writing letters. While are they the arbiters of morality in this country? They're all compromised people. You can see the background. You can see what they're doing. Nobody should give any justification for violence. There can be no justification for provocative slogans. These people have abused Hinduism. Are the Hindus out there on the street are baying for their blood, are saying they're going to cut off their head? Nobody does that. I mean, these people, you know, what will people
Madhav, a
think
question for Mr. Pai.
Muslims do this and say we're going to give you 10 lakhs, 50 lakhs to cut off somebody's head. Does Islam justify this kind of violence? What will people think of them? What will people of this country have seen? And these people say they're a religion of peace. If you're a religion of peace, you cannot condone violence under any circumstances. You cannot say that you're going to give blood money to cut somebody's head. You cannot say sarsun, jute and all kind of stuff. And you cannot throw stones. You cannot indulge in violence if you are a peaceful people. It is time that the law comes down on them. And these leaders who have provoked these people are put in jail. India has to take a tough stand. And please remember, we are a liberal democracy. We are not a theocracy. In a theocracy,
a small rebuttal, Madhav.
You can do everything else.
Okay.
We are a liberal democracy. We are governed by the rule of law. There are no blasphemy laws in this country, and people are free to criticize. If you feel abused, go to court. Let the court decide. Let the police decide. You cannot decide.
Many have pointed out, Atikur Rahman, many have pointed out how recently during Gyan Vapi there were several comments that were made ridiculing the Hindu religion. No legal action was taken at that point of time.
It's a vicious circle, Madhav. I don't want to get into that. Mr. Pai, I am just asking for the government of India to engage people in a discourse which is secular, to engage people in a discourse which strengthens the nation. The government of India is failing to do it. The fringe elements are at play.
You're provoking violence. Are you secular? Engage whom? Who are the leaders to engage?
If I demand engagement with the government of India, is that supporting violence, sir? I am not.
First stop violence.
I am not.
First stop violence.
I am not.
First stop violence. Who are the leaders to
Who is causing violence and who is supporting violence?
The leaders themselves are provoking violence.
There's a vacuum
No, but
of leadership.
the question, Mr. Atikur Rahman, that will naturally come up. The question that will come up, Mr. Atikur Rahman, is who is the government supposed to talk to? Is the government supposed to talk to those people who are rioting on the streets? Are those the people you want that the government should sit down and talk to? This is the big question. And let me bring in Smita Prakash on that point. Smita Prakash, the lament over here of Atikur Rahman is that the government is not engaging, and that is why we are seeing this kind of violence. But who is the government supposed to talk to?
Yeah, so government has blood on its hands. I don't understand which government has blood on its hands. Where does this quote come from? It's just a random quote. Government has blood on its hands. Nupur Sharma, whatever she said, she didn't call for killing. So there is no question of her. So if she represents the government in this whole fiasco, no, government doesn't have blood on its hands. Second, what is blasphemy is a philosophical debate, ideological debate. There is only one law in this country, right? Constitution is what we all owe allegiance to. One flag in this country. You can have, states can have their flags, army can have a certain flag, but there is one national flag, one law in this country. As far as blasphemy is concerned, whether it is Sikhs, whether it is Hindus, whether it is Christians, whether it is Muslims, we can all have ideological debates. We can have academic debates, sir, as scholars. But there is one law, right? That having been said, Madhav, the point that I want to continuously make, and I don't know how many times I'm going to repeat the next couple of days, is that all those who are gleefully saying that, oh, BJP got its just desserts. Ab dekha kya hua hai? The right wingers and the left wingers both are happy, thinking that BJP is now in a soup, because internationally they are in trouble and nationally they are in trouble. They are losing their vote bank, they are losing their core supporters, and they are in a mess internationally. So you have everybody feeling very happy that BJP is in a difficult position. But look at what has happened to the country. Today in Howrah, right, just now, the internet has been shut down. Students who are taking entrance exam, no internet for them. Do you think about them? Do you know what it means to have the police thanas burnt to cinders in West Bengal? Does it matter? Does it matter about the police?
There is one person who has succumbed in the clash in Ranchi, and incidentally, as you mentioned, Ranchi has also seen the internet being shut down at this point of time. I'm going to come across to you. Yes, Pita, you are making a point.
Yeah, so when all these people, when common people are going to suffer, people who come on TV debates, you, me and all, we are not going to suffer that much. Where we will suffer, Madhav, is when our children go abroad, when our parents go abroad. We are painted with the same brush as the mobs on the street. Why? Because in those countries, they don't understand this. There are soft Muslims, there are hard Muslims, there are soft Hindus, there are hard Hindus. No, we are all Indians. So just like Pakistani passport becomes a negative thing, or an Afghan passport becomes a negative thing, Indian passports will become a negative thing.
I've seen many hands going up. I'm going to come to all of you. I think that's an important point that you're making. At the end of the day, Lokesh Jindal, what is happening in the country does not help anyone. While political parties and opposition parties may be happy that the BJP or the government is embarrassed, at the end of the day, how has this hurt the interest of the country? This entire episode internationally as well is also something that we all have to consider as citizens of this country, is what Smita Prakash is saying. Your response to that?
Yes, I would like to, in fact, agree with Smita Prakash on topics that she has raised. In fact, it is a worrisome situation. The policies of the government has caused immense communal divide. In fact, today there is a large chunk of population which feels marginalized, alienated from the mainstream, and then there has been reactionary tendencies from them. So the government has to engage into consensus building, reaching out to those people, those sections of the population, bringing about some form of a political discourse, deliberation, and then come about with a law-based process. Now, if she's talking about law, then let me tell you.
So what is this argument, sir? You're saying that the government has not deliberated and therefore the only resort is violence. That is the only way we can get the government's attention.
Listen,
is that your argument today? That is what you're saying today. We just debated this entire point 5 minutes ago. But this is again what you're saying. You're repeating the very same point. I want to bring in Mr. Firoz Bakht Ahmed on that. Is that an acceptable argument, Mr. Bakht? Mr. Bakht, is that acceptable?
Let me
promotion of brotherhood.
Let us not speak over each other, as Madhav said in the beginning. Let me add one thing more to what Smita had said. She said many people might be happy what has happened to BJP. There are many people who are happy as to what the Arab nations has done to India. They have called our envoys and they have summoned them. Many people are happy about that. But it is a matter of shame. But let me also tell you that Saudi Arab has condoned India. Saudi Arab has appreciated the action taken by India. Even Iran is also with India. It will die down. But people who are happy when India is discarded, when India is demonized in abroad, like what the big leader of the Congress party did. He demonized India in London. I mean, we are all one.
Congress
we are all Indians. So let us respect and regard that. Please.
Let me tell you, Congress made India. The idea of India that we stand for.
No, that's not. Okay.
Don't defend Rahul Gandhi. I'll take his name. As I've requested you right at the start of the show, one by one, please. Mr. Syed Masood Al Hassan has not spoken. I'm going to bring him in. Syed Masood Al Hassan, you've heard what has been said by Mr. Feroz Bakht Ahmed. He is saying that there are vested interests outside India and within India who want to keep the communal pot boiling. And that is exactly what is happening. This issue could have died down if it was not for those vested interests. क्या कहेंगे आप इन्हें?
Vaishnav Sahab had made a very valid point that Nupur Sharma had embarrassed the whole country abroad, and the section 124A must be put upon her. This is my viewpoint, because it says whoever by words either spoken or written or by signs or by visible representation or otherwise bring or attempts to bring into hatred or contempt of or excites or attempts to excite disaffection towards the government of India shall be punished with life imprisonment.
Sure, so let the police do that. One second.
Or hanging her or life imprisonment. Please go, you are a citizen of India.
So there are 2 points. Yes, there are 2 points. You are free to petition. Any citizen is free to petition if they are aggrieved any court in this country, in any part of this country, by those comments. That is point number 1. Point number 2, it is not like the police is doing nothing. There is an FIR filed.
Sir, I myself given an application in a police thana nearby me.
Okay.
And that application has not been turned into FIR.
All right. Okay. Well done. Go ahead that way.
But there's already an FIR. There is
anybody else.
You can go to the court, sir. Has anybody stopped you from going to the court? Please go to the court, take that petition there, file a case against police inaction.
And Islam does not believe in such unsuch. Let me tell you, Islam never condones a statement like
Mohandas Pai.
This is anti-Islam, anti-constitutional, anti-humanity.
Mohandas Pai, almost out of time. Mohandas Pai.
What is anti-humanity?
The bottom line is, violence cannot be justified by anybody by saying there is provocation. Violence cannot be justifying for saying you took some action with the reaction. Violence cannot be justified by anybody gloating and blaming anybody. All of us as citizens of this country should stand up and say, you have a right to protest, please protest, but no violence. And anybody calling for violence should be punished under the law. And the law should take its strict course.
Yes, I salute you.
Okay.
I salute you, Mr. Pai. Very well said.
Of this country is the first duty of the government.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are completely out of time. I have to, in fact, interrupt over here. Smita Prakash, Feroz Bakht Ahmed, Mohandas Pai, Huzaifa Amir Rashidi, as well as Syed Masood Al Hassan, Professor Atikur Rahman, Majid Haidari, Lokesh Jindal. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us this evening. Certainly, we haven't seen the last as far as this entire matter is concerned, but all those who have violated the law, who have caused violence, must be punished. That is not acceptable, as well as, of course, the law must take its course as far as those who have engaged in hate speech is concerned. We're going to end this debate at the moment. Coming